Hey, I'm Randy, and this is RPG.
Alright, so I have two pieces of plywood cut to 24 inches square, and I've marked the center of each piece by going corner to corner, and I've drilled a small hole in through the middle that I can run the nail of my quick makeshift router circle jig. It's not complete yet. Eventually I'll have a groove in here and it'll be adjustable, but for right now I don't have all the pieces for it, so I've just used a small nail to mark the center point that it'll rotate on. One piece is going to get a 1/4 inch groove around it for the dust collector, and the other piece is going to get a 1/2 inch groove around it for the trash can. And once I'll make this in a couple of passes, and I'll go about halfway through the 3/4 inch plywood. And then once that's complete, then I can glue the two pieces together or make my cut for the Thien baffle, and then I can glue the two pieces together.
I set my router bit at 1/8 of an inch below the bottom of the jig to make my first pass, and I gotta say, it worked remarkably well. This was the first time I used a circle cutting jig, and I wish I would have known about this when I made my bandsaw wheels.
Alright, there's the first test cut. Now I want to take the trash can and place it on there and make sure that everything works out just fine. Alright, looks like a pretty good fit. Alright, I'm going to do 2 more passes with the router, and it should be at the perfect depth. Let's get going.
So 2 more passes with the router, adjusting 1/8 of an inch for each pass.
Alright, looks good to me. So for the other 2 pieces, I had to use some newer plywood that I have because I didn't have any scraps large enough that I could use. But however, for the top of the collector, where the actual vacuum portion is coming from the motor, I'm going to use this. This is the bottom piece of the old tabletop from my old table saw. So I just have to remove a few pieces and then cut it to size. Probably have to patch up a couple of screw holes or whatever. But this will be just perfect size to fit for the top of the collector.
This is just some particle board that the previous owner of the house had used to build a workbench. I slapped another piece of plywood on top of it and turned it into my old table saw. To fill the screw holes, I simply put a piece of tape on the underside and filled them with glue. Problem solved.
I'm going to make the top 21 by 21. So I'll just kind of roughly mark that out. We're pretty close to 21 by 21. This is 20 3/4. So that's actually 20 1/2. Alright, so 20 1/2 it is. It's still plenty of room for what I need. So 20 1/2, 20 1/2. We'll remark these at 20 1/2. Not you, not you.
Roughly laying out some lines for cutting, trimming it down, and cutting to final dimensions on the table saw. Then I laid out the center, drilled a small hole for the nail in the circle cutting jig, and routed it out to about 3/8 of an inch deep, just like on the plywood pieces before. Then I trimmed off the corners with the bandsaw, just for aesthetic reasons. Not strictly necessary, but I thought it would look good.
Alright, so I've got out where my adapter plate is going to go, and I've got some holes drilled in the corners. Now I'm just going to connect the dots with the jigsaw. Okay, so I have my slots cut for the separator, and I've got everything laid out for the drop slot. Now, conventional wisdom suggests that your drop slot's width be half that of the inlet. Now, the inlet on the Harbor Freight dust collector is 5 inches, but my dust collection hose is only 4 inches. So I'm going to err on the side of caution and go with a 2-inch drop slot. And if I need to widen it up later on, I can always do that. Alright, so I'm going to hog this all out with the jigsaw. Alright, so these pieces are ready to be glued together. I've got the piece for the trash can already cut and the piece for the separator already cut. So let's get some glue on here and get it all put together, get it all clamped up and ready to go. If I can get my glue open. Oh, I hate it when this happens. I need to get one of those cool glue things like everybody else has.
Then I proceeded to use every clamp I owned to hold it together overnight while the glue dried. I even used my homemade clamp that I built from John Heise's plans. It's a beast of a clamp that exerts a tremendous amount of clamping pressure, even though it's made out of wood. I'll put a link to that in the description below.
That'll work.
Now it's just a matter of putting everything together. I attached the adapter plate to the top and then put a bead of silicone around the top and the bottom of the collector to seal it up. All the random holes in the collector got sealed with duct tape for the time being. I'll either fill those with silicone or put some aluminum tape over them later. Then it came time to hang the motor. So this thing is not lightweight by any means, so I had to get some help with this one. I positioned it where I wanted it, drilled holes, and passed the bolts through to where my son was waiting on the other side to put on the washers and the nuts.
Come on back. Had to call in reinforcements for hanging the motor. Well, there you go. Nice. Cool. Okay, I finished the second stage of the dust collection system, and let me show you what I've done so far. Alright, let's start up at the top. Alright, so got the motor mounted on the wall that I built before, and had to call in the cavalry to get some help with that because that is a heavy son of a bitch. And just got the power cord running over the window to the outlet. The filtration bag I've just got zip tied onto the air outlet. So that's eventually going to get piped directly outside via a 4-inch hose. And then the 5-inch hose that came with the system goes from the motor down to the collector down here. It's just the cap that came with it. And so there's the top of the collector, and then the collector itself, and then the bottom. Sorry about the lighting, I got to work on that. There we go. To the top, and then I put these brackets here, just built those with some scrap that I had left over from when I cut this piece, and that just supports the collector when I remove the trash can to empty it out. It's very simple. Actually, there's a handle that came with the collector, and all I've done is use some old gate hinges and hinged it directly to the wall, so all I have to do is just lift up on the handle, pull the trash can out, and empty it out, and then it rests on those triangular shaped brackets. So it kind of looks like a little bit of a mess right now, and it kind of is. But right there is the 5-inch to 4-inch Y connector that came with the system, and I have a blast gate here which runs down to the back of my bandsaw, and it works really well, by the way. And then on the other side of the Y, just a quick little connection, and then another Y gate, or another Y, to this blast gate, which then runs down to my table saw, which also works pretty well. Now the other side, right now I've just got it kind of connected to just a long hose that just runs over there for now. Eventually that will get another Y, which will go to the chop saw, and then a floor sweep. And so there it is. So I took a lot of inspiration from several other YouTubers, Jay Bates, April Wilkerson, Tyler G. I'll leave links to their videos in the description below. So now that I've got that all set, let's see what it can do with this mess.
I took all the sawdust from the drawer under my bandsaw and the sawdust from the box under my old table saw and all the random dust on the floor and put it in a pile. Does this thing suck or what?
Alright, let's empty it out and see what we got. Of course you did. Not the greatest clamps in the world, by the way. I'm going to change them out. Alright, here we are looking down into the trash can. You can see the swirling pattern that this Thien baffle creates. This was completely empty, by the way, so you can see there's probably, I don't know, 6 inches of dust in there. But it collected, I know it didn't collect all of it, because I know that some of those really, really fine ones are just going to get shot out the top and into that filter bag up there. But like I said, that's going to get routed outside, so I don't even have to worry about that. And those clamps that I was talking about, they're just these kind of cheesy clamps that come with the hose setup kit. Yeah, I don't like them, but it's what I have on hand, so I'm just going to use that for now until I can replace those with some proper band clamps. And yeah, so there you go. Thanks for hanging out with me as I converted my Harbor Freight one-stage dust collection system into a 2-stage dust collecting monster. If this is your first time here, welcome aboard. If you liked what you saw, make sure you hit that like button down there, and make sure you also hammer that subscribe button so you don't miss any future videos. Got some good stuff coming up. Like I said before in previous videos, my schedule's pretty hectic. I do not live in the same area that I work in, so I basically have only the weekends to work on projects. So I'm trying to get as much stuff done as I can and shoot as much video as I can so that I can get it put together and uploaded for you guys. So thanks again for hanging out with me, and we'll see you next time.